What's up, y'all? This is Chris, and I'm here now doing the spoiler review for Furious 7, like I said I was gonna do. That way I could talk more about why I didn't like it or why I did like the movie. So let's jump right into it. And like I said before, this movie is really good and it's funny. And it's funny on the aspect of Tyrese Gibson. Tyrese Gibson, he is like a comic relief in this film. And almost everything that he says out of his mouth is funny, as well as the things that he do. And then to have you cracking up, it sure had me cracking up. Now for the connections. Now, as you quite know or you don't know, this film primarily focuses on the events that happened in the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, and Fast and Furious 6. Now, Tokyo Drift, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's more of a necessary evil because of the ties that it has to these other movies. And in that movie, basically, Hans, who is a friend of Vin Diesel's character, Dominic Toretto, he dies in that film. And in that film, you don't really quite know who did it or if there was anyone behind it. But at the end of Fast and Furious 6, you do find out that Deckard Shaw, the brother of Owen Shaw, was the one who was responsible for it. Then that starts us off with the plot of Furious 7, as well as the connection with Letty. Because in Fast and Furious, which is the fourth movie, she dies. But then you find out in Fast 5, at the end, that she's still alive. Which brings us to Fast and Furious 6. We find out that she's a part of Owen's crew, which brings Dominic Toretto and the rest of his crew to want to bring her back. Which brings us to the events that happened in Furious 7, which is the movie that I'm talking about right now. Like I said, all the fight scenes were great. They were well choreographed and hard hitting, especially between Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character Luke Hobbs and Jason Statham's character Deckard Shaw, and Dominic Toretto and Deckard Shaw, Letty and Ronda Rousey's character, whatever her name is, unknown person, blah blah blah, and as well as Paul Walker's character Brian O'Connor and the Asian guy from The Protector. I really don't know his name, and I really don't feel like IMDb-ing it, whatever. Anyway, and the action scenes. By God, the action scenes. They were incredible, insanely incredible. I mean, you have a car jumping from one building to the next. You have Paul Walker's character, after having a fight with the unknown Asian character from The Protector, he ends up finding himself in this bus that's teetering off a cliff, and he has to find a way off of it. So what he does is that he climbs to the end that's hanging off the cliff, and then he climbs around it doing his acrobatic stuff, and then he finds himself on top of the bus, and he starts running and is falling off, and he's like running as fast as he can, and somehow Letty sees that, and then she drives to the edge and she spins her car around, having like the back exposed to where he can just jump off and grab it, and he jumps off and he grabs it, and it's great, and it's a great scene. He nearly escapes death, and it's like, oh my God, you just go through composures and your head just explodes. And then they have this car thing where they're playing hot potato with the hacker that they rescue early on in the film, and then it's like just crazy, all these cars, and it's shooting, and it's a lot of shooting, as well as towards the end after the Jason Statham fight and Vin Diesel fight, Vin Diesel jumping in his car trying to escape it, and while it's all falling down, his car going through all the rubble, and he barely escapes it, and it's just crazy. He does escape it. He's still alive. And of course, with Paul Walker's death and how they had to change around the script and the ending, it still ended up being a pretty good movie. And to add to it, the handling of it was done well, because they didn't use his death for the promotion of the movie. And the send off for him was done beautiful, because I thought that they were going to kill him, but they didn't go that route. They ended up making him a family man, which was the thing for this character all throughout the movie. And so when Fast and Furious 8 or Furious 8 or whatever they want to call it, when it comes out, or if it comes out, he's not going to be in the movie, and that's due to him being a family man. Now, as far as his brother stepping in, you can really tell at some parts. Like at the end, when he's on the beach with his family, his wife and his child, and they're playing around, you can tell that it was one of his brothers. But in other scenes, you do notice it. Other people notice it. I didn't, and I tried to look for it, but I didn't find it, as well as the CG Paul Walker. I believe that was at the end when Paul Walker pulled up alongside of Dominic Toretto, and he looked at him and he said, "You're not going to leave without saying bye." I don't even know if I'm quoting it right. Hey, if you go see the movie, you'll see if I'm quoting it right or not. I really don't care. I'm just trying to prove a point here. Now, as we move on to the cons. The plot. What the hell went on? It made no sense. Now, what I mean when I say it doesn't make any sense, Deckard Shaw is trying to get revenge on Toretto and his crew. Cool and all dandy. But when you bring Kurt Russell's character in there, Mr. Nobody, and sends them on these missions, and this is where it gets stupid, because Kurt Russell's character, Mr. Nobody, gives Toretto an option to either go after Deckard Shaw on his own, and it may or may not fare well for him, or he can go after a God's Eye program. Now, God's Eye program, what it does is that it allows you to find any person on the face of this earth in a matter of seconds, minutes to hours, no matter where they are, how well they're hidden, who they are, or whatever, you will find them. And so he chooses the latter. He chooses to go help Mr. Nobody retrieve this program. And so him and his crew go after this hacker, the person that created it. They go after her, and this is where it gets stupid. It's a car chase. She's on the bus, and they're going after the bus, and it's a big car chase and a lot of action. Deckard Shaw shows up. Why? Okay. He shows up, they get rid of him. Tyrese comes in, saves the day, they knock him off the road. In scene, they get the hacker. And so now they need to find the program. They find out that the program has been sold to a prince or whatever in Dubai. So they go to Dubai to get this program. This program is inside of this car that belongs to the prince, and try and find this program. And what do you know? Deckard Shaw shows up. Yeah, and this is the scene where the car jumps from building to building. And while that's happening, Deckard Shaw shows up shooting up the party. So you're basically telling me that all you had to do was set up a situation to where Deckard Shaw would show up and bam, there you go. So getting this guy's eye program to find him when he's showing up made no sense at all. So they're basically doing this as a filler for the movie to make it a long, action-packed movie. Then after they get the guy's eye program and they use it, and they actually find Deckard Shaw after this scene, they go to where he's at. It ends up getting set up by the people that was holding the hacker and holding her hostage. Everyone in their crew got killed. And when I say everyone in their crew got killed, I mean it was Toretto, O'Connor, and Kurt Russell's character, Mr. Nobody, and a whole bunch of other people that was special ops or whatever. And so they all get killed. The only survivors, Toretto, O'Connor, and Mr. Nobody. Mr. Nobody is hurt. He gets taken away. Don't see him for the rest of the movie. Then this is where it gets crazy. So it's at the end of the movie. They go back to Los Angeles. Deckard Shaw shows up again. What was the point? I mean, there was no point of this finding God's eye when he shows up at every single turn that you can turn around and he's there. There was no point of it, really, at all. And with Jason Statham popping in and out of the movie like that, you don't really get too many action scenes from him. I mean, you do, but not as much as you would expect by watching the trailer and knowing the plot of this movie. And as well as people not getting too many action scenes, The Rock is only at the beginning and the end of the movie. I mean, he's still the movie, but he's in a hospital bed after the fight with him and Jason Statham was really badass. But still at the same time, he was only at the beginning and the end of the movie, which with a character like The Rock, it sucks because you want to see more of him within a movie like this, as well as he's on the poster and he's not really in the movie, and he doesn't really have too much face time like you would see it in commercials, or you would like to believe, but hey, it's whatever. Now, as far as the poster and people that's on it that don't have anything major to do with the film, is Mia, Toretto's sister, played by Jordana Brewster. Now, of course, she stays behind with her child as she's being protected by some of Dominic Toretto's friends. Now, as to why she's on the poster and she really doesn't have anything to do with the movie, I think it's because the movie is called Furious 7 and there's 7 people on the poster, and they really couldn't put Jason Statham on there because he's a bad guy. So hey, what the hell? Now to get to Iggy Azalea and Ronda Rousey. Now, both of their parts are really unnecessary because they're basically just put in this movie because of their popularity. Ronda Rousey is like a really good UFC fighter, and they hold her up as the most dangerous female in the world, which I could believe if I ever seen the fight. But I haven't, so moving on. Her fighting scenes was really good, but if they would have had her in a movie where she didn't talk and she just looked intimidating, maybe it would have fit, but you know, she's a fighter and not an actor, so what can you really expect from her? Now, as far as Iggy being in the movie, I think it wasn't really necessary, but if there was a saying that said that you act as good as you rap, that probably would explain her bad acting up in this movie. Even though it was like 2 lines, it still was horrible. Now, to get into the problem that I had with the last fight scene that involved Vin Diesel and Jason Statham, now Deckard Shaw, he is a military and trained assassin, a killing machine, but for some reason he has a hard time killing Dominic Toretto. And Dominic Toretto, he just knows how to street fight. He doesn't really have any special form of training like military, kung fu, martial arts. He's just basically a fighter. So why doesn't Deckard Shaw just kill him with one finger? Beats the hell out of me. And at the beginning of the movie, he basically destroys a whole hospital. So why is it so hard to kill Dominic Toretto and the rest of his crew? I mean, it really shouldn't be that hard for a person that's been all around the world and probably killed hundreds of people to try and kill Toretto and the rest of his crew. To me, that made it unbelievable. But the fight was still good and it was satisfying until the end when it was interrupted by a missile, which ended the fight in a tie. And it was basically unsatisfying after that because you waited the whole movie to see this fight and it ends like this with no winner. What the hell? Now that concludes this review, and I'd like to thank y'all for watching this video. And if you like, subscribe, comment, share, and there will be more to come like Daredevil season 1. I will be doing a review on that, and that should be fun. And just like always, it will be a non-spoiler and spoiler review for it. And look me up on YouTube at A Creative Minds Journey. And I'd like to thank you guys again, and I will catch you later. Until next time.